Hi, I'm Terry Menard, and I'm here with Sean O'Grady. I'm curious, Sean, with you're kind of killing it right now with like the same single location type of horror film, and I'm curious after We Need to Do Something and Now the Mill. How did that first movie kind of prepare you for the Mill and its more kind of epic kind of vibes to it?
It's interesting. I came out of We Need to Do Something, and you would think once you get out of that bathroom, you would never want to go into another single location again. But it was the exact opposite. There's something really exhilarating about putting yourself in a box and putting your characters in a box and figuring out how to tell a story that way and make it interesting and cinematic. And yeah, I have a really weird obsession. So it's fun to get to do that in a way that, we can create art from it.
Well, and I think it allows you to kind of take some chances too, because it's more it's contained and it kind of I don't know, it kind of creates like a puzzle almost to kind of go through on how you would do that visually. And I'm curious how like the production design created because like it's very brutalism meets like high tech. And so I'm curious what kind of went into the design of this place that the main character is stuck in.
Yeah, that's a very astute observation. Brutalism meets tech is like kind of exactly how we described it as we were putting our references
Oh,
together. And yeah, the production designer, Amy, she's the same person who designed the set for We Need to Do Something. So we're used to building these elaborate spaces together, and for this one, it was yeah, we really wanted it to feel like almost like every element was anachronistic. And so you've got this projection on the wall, and you've got this digital scoreboard, and then you've got this ancient style grist mill that's sitting at the center of it. And we wanted to essentially create a version of, and you see this in video games, I think, a lot
mm.
more than you see it in movies, where some of the elements just don't make sense. And we wanted to look at what that would look like if an AI were building this space. How would they build it, and what different eras of humanity would they pull their references from?
Cool. How much of it was practical advice, like visual effects?
All of it was practical.
All of it's practical. Wow.
Yeah, we built that set. It was 18-foot tall walls, 15,000 pounds of concrete. Um, the yeah, that mill is
Wow.
6 feet diameter. It was big. Like when you're in that space, you're really in that space, and you're actually trapped in there. You can't get out of it. And so, like obviously, the duck is visual effects,
Right.
but we just like projected a green light up for Rel to act against. But the space itself is all practical.
Wow. That's quite a lot of work to go into with concrete and everything just to create that space. But I think it really helps sell what is happening there. But you touched on AI and watching this movie right now where we have AI and there's the labor strikes that are going on, the SAG writer strike happening, discussions of mega corporations. It feels very timely and relevant right now. So I'm curious if what is happening in the last maybe 5 or 6 months kind of gave you chills as you were working on this.
Yeah, it was really bizarre because we started making the movie in November of 2022, and like generative AI at that point was theoretical. And well, it wasn't theoretical, it was being worked on, but to the public's mind, it was theoretical,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when we like came out of the hole of making this movie in January, and we were reading the news and things again, and we saw that like this AI was everyone was talking about it. Like this was science fiction when we started making the movie, and when we
Right.
were shooting and while we were editing the movie, it was reality. So it was very strange and very surreal. And I don't know. I've never had an experience quite like it. And then when the labor strike started, which obviously is an element of that in the film as well, it was like, geez, everything that we're talking about in the film, everything we've been trying to touch on is sort of catching up to the film a lot faster than we thought it would.
Wow. I'm kind of curious with the script was written by Jeffrey David Thomas and how did you get involved as the director for this? Did you both work on this or did you see the script? How did you get involved?
I was talking to my producing partner Josh Feldman, and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I'm looking for a very specific thing. I wanted to do a contained dystopian science fiction thriller. I want to build on the skill sets that my team and I started building on. We need to do something, and I want to be able to bring that into something that kind of has a bigger world. And and he I like listed off these like 8 things that were very specific that I was looking for, And he said, weirdly enough, I've read a script that has all of that. Let me see if it's available. And so he called Jeff, and Jeff said, yeah, the script's available. I read it that night and just knew that I had to make it. I literally couldn't sleep all night because it was this fever dream of a script that it just absolutely blew my mind.
Wow. So I know I have very little time left, but I have to ask about working with Lil Rel Howery, because I know he's also a producer on it. And he's just, ever since I saw him in Get Out, he's just such a likable screen presence. And so I was kind of curious what it was like collaborating with him on this.
Rel's incredible. Rel was attached to the project actually very early. You know,
Okay.
he was on about 4 months before we started shooting. And during that time, we talked through every detail of the movie, the way we were going to shoot it, the themes that we related to in it, why we wanted to tell the story, common references, things that happened to us as kids, like everything. We went really deep on
Right.
it and had this sense of how we were going to make the film. And then the day that we showed up to start shooting, like kind of all that went out the window, or at least I thought it did, right? Like the groundwork got laid. But I asked Rel if he wanted to see the set before we started, like for safety reasons, and also just to make sure that he felt comfortable and could kind of prepare himself to be in that world. And he thought about it for a second, and then he's like, "No, I don't want to see it. I want to be blindfolded."
Wow.
And so we actually blindfolded him and walked him like 30 feet down the side of the set on this catwalk, actually walked him out onto the set, kept the blindfold on. He laid down on his back on the ground. And when we yelled action, he took the blindfold off. And that's the first time he saw that set. And what was crazy is something about that experience of waking up in that cell. From that moment on, he wasn't Rel anymore. It was Joe. I was dealing with Joe until the very end of when we wrapped, and then Rel was back again. And it was,
Wow.
but what I realized is that all that preparation, all that work that we did, I think if he was preparing himself to go to that place and went there, and I think it paid off. I think his performance is just incredible.
It is. It's phenomenal. And it's what a lot of weight to keep on his shoulders is like basically the single person on it. But I guess this is all that I have. So just want to thank you again for doing this. And look forward to see what you do next.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right.